And for the record, those present are myself, Commissioner Mtiaku, Commissioner Sanchez, and Commissioner Martinez. And I'm going to take a few minutes to just speak about one thing real quick. On our agenda, I put on the CCU vacancy. It's the last item on the agenda. And I'm just wondering, Commissioners, do we want to move that up to the beginning of the meeting and take care of the vacancies, or we'll wait until the end of the meeting? I'm fine doing it ahead of time.
Yeah, I say we just dispose of the the rest of the items on the agenda, and we can do it at the end.
We'll do it then?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's okay with me.
Then we'll have you sign off because you'll still be secretary.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay. No problem.
We can make it effective tomorrow.
Yeah.
Whatever we decide, just make it.
Yeah.
That way we don't
No.
change the.
I'm just saying. I just wanted to ask.
We're with you.
Okay. Okay, the first order of business then is the approval of minutes.
Move to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Do it? Okay. Move to approve. Second. Any further discussion? No?
There are.
Subject to written correction, of course.
Yes.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries with 4 aye votes. Do we have anybody for public comment? No. Okay, starting with GPA. John?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For today, we have 3 straightforward resolutions. Basically, Resolution 2022-27. And this is to authorize the General Manager to award the grant for energy efficiency upgrades at the University of Guam School of Business and Public Administration. We have contract with Utility Energy Services contractor Siemens, who has worked out a Phase 1 investment grade audit for the University of Guam, which projects that they will save about $500,000. And in addition to that, a grant was put into the Department of Interior, and subsequently grant was approved and received for $1.291938. Again, this is for energy efficiency upgrade at the University of School of Business and Public Administration, a public building. Whereas this is a pass-through, it passes through to Siemens. However, I do have a limitation on my authorization authority of $1 million, and so the request is for the CC to approve, to authorize me an increase to $1.291938 million to award this contract for the benefit of the University of Guam. All these projects that we do for the University of Guam, the other schools, provide again energy efficiency, reduction in energy costs for themselves, but also at the same time it provides a reduction in fuel costs for the community at large under the LEAC. No? Although yes, projects here and there are incremental, but then it keeps adding up at the end. Commissioner Mtiaku had the question of in the grants that we provide for administrative fee.
Right.
We were looking through it. My apologies. It's not in the grant, but moving forward, we will put in administrative fee for the share of the GPA side. All we've been doing is facilitating with the workforce that we have to prepare the grants, put it all in. A lot of the heavy lifting was done by the Siemens, and so. But I think it is appropriating grants for us to put in administrative fee. We will
Just
do
to
that.
recover your costs, whatever direct costs you have.
And the total so far, really to date, that is already completed, and with the addition of this to if passed, it's about almost $5 million in grants that we have gotten for UOG, Aguila Johnston, Maria Jo, GEO, Simon Chances, GW, lighting upgrades, different things. And so, again, this is something we also will focus on in the near future. How do we assist these entities to get grants very specifically so that they can reduce their costs without impacting the ratepayer? And of course, as Commissioner Mtiaku mentioned, the administration fees should be a part of that. We asked about that. I think we should include that. So that's my request, Commissioners, for the approval of this resolution so we can proceed on this energy efficiency project.
Any further questions, Commissioners? Or does that answer all our questions?
And thanks for the summary of sort the use of funding and where it's being used and what's for. This is all part of all these incremental things we can do to help on the school systems on the demand side.
We help the residential customers with the demand side management. We help
Rebates.
commercial customers. This is a way of helping our government
And
customers.
this is a federal grant, right? We're using federal money to
Oh,
pay
federal money.
Siemens to pay, and then pay for the recommendations that you guys are implementing.
And that's one reason why I've been asking about the financial grants and the sources of these grants from WOMDOE and other locations, because if we know what they give those grants for more particular, I think we can shape some of the grants to get them, say solar, to get them upgrades in efficiencies and all of that. And when it comes, and I believe a lot of those grants get approved because we have a good track record of getting grants and getting it done, and stuff. So I think as we move forward,
You've got a good record, John.
and in
so-
September I'll
and
come
it's a
back
good
to
thing.
you with some ideas as to how we move forward and and more energy efficiency. And more importantly, renewables will be the next subject in this September.
Okay, any further questions? Commissioners?
John,
Go ahead, Commissioner Martinez.
and GCC, they're building also, right? They're doing some new buildings coming up.
Yeah, and GCC actually does a good job in getting grants for even solar
Yeah.
and the rooftops and all of that. So they've been successful, but we'll work with all of them. And but they have received, zero cost solar. That's the question
Then it helps
becomes.
them cut their power
Yeah.
bill.
The question becomes now if a lot of this zero cost solar can come together, especially with an ARA funding, then we can really have with your approval, the PUC set a rate, said that the base rate will be paid and the savings will all come from here. And so it's clear and concise, and then we move forward and get a lot of those programs moving, So that's what I hope to present to you
Next month.
next month. I think there's a way that we can, with the efforts of everyone and the PUC, setting a rate for this renewable program.
Well, bring that
Most
to us next
yeah.
month, yeah.
Then I think there's a way to make this really move
Commissioner
for the
Chapo,
benefit
you
of
have a
everyone.
Yeah, John, I'm reviewing the GPA UESC contract summary that you provided here. On the back side of it, the GPA funded amount. Can you explain to me what that dollar figure is?
GPA funded amount is the, remember as part of the savings from one of the refinancing or something?
Yeah, that was some years back, before you
Yeah.
got on the commission. Go ahead, John.
We noted to the legislature that we we're going to make some investment, So we invested $500,000 in what we call the Best Schools program. The Best School program is we went into WOMDOE. We spent about $225,000 to evaluate all the schools for energy efficiency, for water efficiency, and all of that. And Siemens did that for us at $250,000. And they came back that if they invest $40 million in the schools,
Yeah.
they can achieve over $4 million annual savings from that. And then the other part of that 500 was 250 or so, we did a pilot project at Carbolito where we put in air conditioning. There's 5,000 air conditioners in WOMDOE. How can anyone expect them to, to maintain all of that, right? There's just too much for anyone and a lot cost. So the project we put in Carbolito, I believe is like one compressor unit, feeding 6 classrooms. The question is, it's not efficient and blah, blah, blah. When one school's out, one unit's out, the whole classroom. Well, you mitigate that by having spare parts. So if one compressor out, it's no different from any change of air conditioning. So those are minimal things, but that now can let you cut your air conditioning units from 5,000 to 1,000. Now you can maintain it. Now you get higher efficiency machines. So there's a huge potential, right? So we put that in at Carbolito School and all of that. So that's the 500,000. I think it's not, the last refinancing was a previous
It was the previous one.
refinancing that we, the
Yeah.
CCU agreed to provide some
Yeah.
savings to
The
the
legislature
school.
put it in the bill.
So that's the 500,000.
That they would
Have we had results from Carbolito in terms of savings?
Yes, there were savings, and I don't have that off the top of my head. but-
Next month, when you bring forward the program, John.
And again, that's what we're, again, working with DOE and our new interim director. We like to, that's our plan, assisting DOE, to assist them to get to the end goal of getting the schools efficient, adding more solar PV for the system. And that's the only way we can be their engineers. We're not going to go in there and just do a project. We're going to try and solve that for them. And so it's heading there. But again, it's just to be noted that we do help our other customers as part of our ESM program.
Okay, no further questions on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye, opposed nay. Motion carries with 4 aye votes.
Okay.
Did we make a motion?
Yeah, I don't think the motion was made to.
Oh, yeah, that's right, I'm
approve it.
sorry.
Yeah, I think it was just discussion.
We went straight to the resolution, John. Is there a motion on the floor?
So moved. Yeah, resolution number 2022-27. Approved.
I'll second.
Second? Okay, now that we have the motion duly made and seconded, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye, opposed nay. Motion carries with 4 aye votes. John, next resolution?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Resolution 2022-28, and this is to request the authorization for us to implement and complete the turbine exchange for the Machechi combustion power plant. The power plant was constructed in 1993. The units typically have an operating hours of 25,000 hours, and then after that, we recommend it to be overhauled and zeroed out. The unit has 26,757, and that's actually only since about 2015, 2016. Because before, these machines are used sparingly, but since 2015, with the explosion of Cabbage 3 and 4, they've been running on a regular basis. No? So we're up to 26,757 of a recommended service life of 25,000. So right now, we do run Machechi, but only run it as our last resort. No? So our PMC and ourselves agreed that we should bring in a fully refurbished gas turbine. They went out and got 3 bids, invited people, got 3 bids, fuels, and gas turbine investment came in with the lowest price of 3.953,417.60. The other 2 came in, one came in with about 5.4 million, and the other is 6. So this is the cheapest, by about almost a couple $1 million. So again, we have identified revenue funds to take care of this, and will be delivered within 100 days, and installation would take less than 2 weeks. So again, if you recall, when we lost Machechi another time, took us like 2 or 3 months to get it here and repaired, and we had zero production. So now we're trying to get it ahead of time. So once it's on island, we can fix it up very quickly. No? And so this is a resolution I asked for the Commission's approval. It still requires PUC approval. No? The question that Commissioner Lim Tiao had was this company do previously? We looked through the list, and no, this company has not done this work for us before. We had several other companies that have come in similarly like they have, and they are they're what you call it, certified zero out what you call it, service centers for GE.
Okay.
And so they're reputable, just like all these other ones that we had worked with. No?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Commissioner Chalco.
Just out of curiosity, JB, what is a core return? How much of that gets reimbursed to you, or is it based? Is their bid based on the core receiving the core back?
Yeah. It's part, and then what they do now is they take that machine and they rehabilitate. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought that was Commissioner. I have to get my hands here. Don't hang around me because I like to move around. Excuse me. Pardon me. Yes, they take that now and then they zero it out. They go through the whole process, overhaul it and everything, and then they get it ready for somebody else. So that's what they do.
And those units are shipped in ocean, or I think the last one, right, that we had an emergency was shipped in air, right?
Yeah. You can ship it there. I think these are coming ocean.
Ocean.
Yeah, to minimize the cost ahead of time. Now, if we need it earlier and it's ready, well, I think it's ready already. If we need it earlier, then
So what is the time
we
frame,
do what
John?
we have to do. No?
What is
But
the time
right now-
frame to get this done?
100 days you'll be here.
Okay.
And then 100 days from approval will be here. And then just it takes us 3 weeks. And I think it can be put on quicker than that. It's really going in, removing the engine. It's like an overhaul, replacement of the engine. All the other components of the power plant is still there, tying it in. So it's a standard machine.
Is there a motion?
Move to approve resolution FY 2228 authorizing GPA to implement and complete the turbine exchange for the Macheche combustion turbine power plant. Mr. Chairman.
Second. Any further discussion? None?
It's a good
All
project.
those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries with 4 aye votes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Last item is 2022-29, and this is relative to bond financing savings utilization. As required by Public Law 36-80, we are to notify the legislature within 90 days of refinancing of our intent regarding the savings achieved, on our plan regarding the savings achieved from the refinancing. Again, our plan has always been noted and as noted through the public hearings is really for the benefit of the community by making it strategic investment into the Ukudu power project. In other words, the savings will help pay for the machines so that at the end of the day, the total fuel savings minus the cost of the annual fee provides savings to the ratepayers. And so again, the refinancing did occur, and GPA was able to reduce the debt service reduction of 10,056,536 for the years 2024 to 2034. Debt service reduction, so 4297428 from 2031 to 2034. So again, this will help with the payment of the new power plant and the refinancing, and the OEM true interest costs ended up to be about 4.29. And again, this was at the height of the increases.
The Federal Reserve.
And we had to rush to
More
get this done.
importantly, and
Yeah.
if I was here, I'm glad we're not, I think just for the record, and we've gone on the record, there was a significant delay of just getting the bond approved by the legislature. And had it approved when Senator San Augustine first approved it, if you look at page 66, the net present value was $5 million. Had it been approved when Senator San Augustine was ready to do it, we didn't have a hearing for 3 months, it would have been $15 million in net present value. The annual debt service savings wouldn't have been 10 and 4 million, it would have been like 17 and 8 million. It would have been the delay cost ratepayer savings. So I'm glad we're informing the legislature, as a duty, say this is what we did with your permission to refinance it. And I'm comfortable with the whereases, but just for the record, if I had a week ago when I was a little more excited, I'm a little more calm today, I would have put in a whereas that said it is unfortunate that unnecessary legislative delay cost ratepayers $10 million in net present value savings and significantly more in annual cash flow savings over the next 15 years till 2034. And it's those kinds of things we need. We need more help from the legislature, more timely assistance from the legislature. If they really want to help ratepayers save money, we could have saved a lot more money if we had had the bill approved when Senator San Augustine originally introduced it. And it was delayed 3-4 months without even a hearing on a bond refinancing. After the legislature had done bond refinancings for the general fund,
The airport authority.
even before then, they were approving bond refis. It made a lot of sense, but we had one senator not choose, our oversight, not choose to have a hearing for 3-4 months, and it cost ratepayers money, and that's so tragic. I mean, it was so unnecessary. This is money left on the table because we couldn't get our oversight chairman to act expeditiously, and it's costing us real money. So it's very unfortunate, but good, we got it done. We're using the savings. Let's move on.
Okay. Is there a motion? Is there a motion? Or do you have a question?
But we can do it.
Let's
on
do the
discussion.
motion first.
Okay, so,
But you want me to make the motion?
Yeah.
Okay, resolution number FY 2022-29, relative to bond financing savings utilizations.
Okay, is there a second? Second? Okay. Commissioner Mchako, you have a question?
JB, or John, Kim, can you walk us through the whereas clause states that GPA desires to reserve these savings for the benefit of the community by making a strategic investment in Ukadu Power Project. How are you going to do that? Are you going to take the cash flow from debt service and put it in a reserve fund, or are you just going to use it discretionarily?
Yes, what we're going to do is use the savings to pay for the operating costs and the debt service cost of the new power plant. So rather than, let's say the rate increase should be figuratively, let's say it's 9%, we rate need because of this rate savings from the bond, you just do it to like 8.4%. So
Yeah, but so your savings starts when you closed already, right? So
Yes.
so your debt service is now decreased.
No.
oh, not yet.
2024.
Not yet.
Yeah.
When does it start?
2024.
2024. Okay.
So it's planned for the year that we start payment of the capacity fee and the O&M for the new power plant. So the whole plan is to reduce everything that we can within the authority to make sure that we can pay the debt service and the O&M. So that, as we had shown, perhaps is the waterfall, no? Is reduction in the refinancing of this loan to give us. The retirement of Cabras 1 and 2 labor is another one, is savings. The retirement of all of that. So all of that is directly how, and that's why we structured it only to begin in 2024, so that all that savings begin to help our customer when the new power plant comes in. And then that, with the fuel savings, you add it all together, and whatever after you're taking care of the O&M and the capacity fee, the rest of the fuel savings go back to the ratepayers.
No, but you closed on the bond already, so
Yep.
so now your debt service is diminished from what you were paying to service the debt. Or are you saying that was the debt service not to be, we refinanced prior to the debt service starting again?
The way it happened was the debt service was refinanced in July.
Right.
So what happened is the par amount of the debt actually went down. However, the debt service payment hasn't changed from the previous one until 2024.
Until 2024. So you still have to service that same amount of debt service up until 2024, where it goes down.
Yes.
And then at that point in time, so the projected start for the Ukadu power plant and which you'll have to start paying is in the same time frame?
Yes.
Okay.
What's the
Commissioner
capital
Sanchez.
lease, what's the capital lease that starts in 2024 for the plant?
Capital is about 40 million.
40 million. So 10 for the first,
So that
10 for the first
reduces
10
it to
years,
30.
25% of the capital lease
Yeah.
is being paid by these debt service savings, and then for the
That's-
last 10
that's
years, 5% of it is being paid. But
Yeah.
as you said, the combination of a lower capital lease cost, you know, that's a benefit. The real benefit is its fuel efficiency. And when you add the fuel efficiency and the lower capital cost to buy the generator, this is a build, operate, transfer, just like This is a public-private partnership, just like the Osaka gas plant, PD8 and 9, right? We're paying off the mortgage on the plant, so we can own it. We're using $10 million of the savings to buy that down 25%. And then when we turn it on, what it does for the LEAC is in addition to the savings, and that's why what I recall from your earlier presentations, power bills can begin to come down as soon as we turn on that generator, 12 to 16%, depending on oil and what its price is. But even at today's oil prices, we will be able to pay with these savings and the fuel savings. We're going to still be able to lower the total power bill with a brand new generator, and that saves so much. 500,000 barrels a year in fuel at $100 a barrel, right? Without any hedging.
Yes.
Sorry, and that's altogether also inclusive of the renewables and that we're putting on the line, and so.
Well, the 500 is the end, the 250 is marvelous.
Yeah, understood. But I'm saying that when we get to 2025, all of this will be summarized to one. So we are in the process of updating our what we call our waterfall, which says where are all the savings, how we're going to pay for this new power plant, and what could be the savings for the ratepayers. So John is working in that with the team. Part of it is because we do have to file a rate with the PUC, which makes the adjustment. So the base rate may go up a little bit, but the total rate for the customer goes down. No? So we don't know the answer yet, but that's what we're working on. And we continue to try and find different savings that will, the retirement, all this capital investment that we're making is going to be minimized because, again, the Machiachi plan, we don't run it more than the next 2 years, then it will last actually the rest of its lifetime without having to be refurbished again. Because you can run it for maybe, we expect you run it for maybe 8 to 10,000 over the next 2-3 years, and then after that you still have 15,000 service life as a reserve, only to be ready when necessary, which is going to be extremely less.
Because of the clean air requirements, we're burning more expensive fuel. That's why reducing the amount of fuel we purchase is the ultimate savings for ratepayers.
And that's why the renewable program I'm bringing before you in September will now work to achieve.
And a generator that burns 500,000 barrels less a year.
Yep.
And that's the marriage that's really going to help our ratepayers.
No.
And you have some bond savings to help you pay for it.
In comparison, I may have sent you some information about Hawaiian Electric. They're closing down their cheapest cost machine, 6 cents a kilowatt hour, no, and replacing it with all renewables, right? And that's why I think the heading is that no more oil but higher rates because we want renewables. So again, we have a different program. So be it as the policy goal, no? Our program, unless we hear anything different from you or yourselves, right, is not renewables at any price. It's renewables so that we can get the rate of our customers down to a low level we can and sustain it as an affordable and sustain it for a longer term period. And that sustainability comes from the 1% escalator that we use in all our renewables program. So that's the plan.
Yeah, I remember when I first got on board in 2009, John Gpwa had done the 2008 IRP. And basically it started with a repowering of generation, was what it started with. And also looking at fuels, looking at where you could make changes in fuels. So we came up with the idea of dual fuels. So, this is a plan, and this is what, I don't think sometimes people fully understand is the planning that we do a lot of planning, and that bears fruits. It helps us, and we know where we're going, and this is where we're going. We're heading to where we have repowering generation that works with renewables. That was a big thing.
Allows you to
add more renewables, and works on the duck curve and all the other good stuff. And then we work with fuel diversity and fuel security, because you've got two types of fuel, and that's where we're all heading. But that we had a complete plan. That was the one. We went to Kauai, remember? And what we did is we went to Kauai, and when we went to Kauai, they had a good program, but one of the things they didn't do is the repowering of generation. And then when they had a big problem, they were load shedding for days. And, you know, it wasn't the fact, it wasn't that, you know, people said, well, renewables are bad. No, but you have to do it in a certain way. And that proofs in the pudding. The IRP gave us the recipe for doing it right. And we're continually updating this. So, you know, GPA does good planning. That's one of the keys that I believe why our two utilities do so well, because they do planning, you know? Anyway, so, any?
Just have one note, there
Sure.
is a typo that we corrected on line number 6, it should be 2024 to 2030.
What
6
line
years.
is that?
Yeah, yeah. And then-
It's a 7-year period, and then
Oh, okay.
the
And from-
remaining 4 years is from 2031 to 2034.
Okay.
Right.
Just typo,
Do we have the corrected printout to sign?
Is
Or we
this,
can just change 20, on line 6, I make a motion to change 2034 to 2030. Right?
But
is-
are we going to get the actual corrected copies for
is the
signature?
current hard copy that's before us, does that have reflect?
No, it's
It
wrong.
doesn't, okay,
showing it now, so we'll make the.
okay.
Joyce, do we have the file?
So,
We can do it
so,
while
We can do
we're
it, yeah.
yeah, you can do it while we're meeting, but, so therefore there's a motion to amend.
It's okay, yeah.
The
To amend
resolution-
line 6 of the resolution 2022-29 on line 6, to change the numbers 2034 to the number 2030.
Okay. And is there a second? Second? Okay. Any further discussion? Okay, first on the amendment, no further discussion. All those signify by saying aye. Do you
Aye.
approve? Aye. Approved with 4 aye votes. Now on the main motion, as amended, no further discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries with 4 aye votes. Okay? John, is that it for you?
Just one update,
Sure,
Mr. Chair, unless you want me to go through the GM report, I'm prepared to do that this time, but other than that, we're,
Okay.
Cameras, of course, PD number 8 came on the line, has been working well and operating at 40 megawatts now.
Okay.
Cameras 2 came on the line on Saturday, and he's now up at 45 megawatts and operating well. And again, knock on wood, we'll see, time will tell, because again, on boiler tubes, so you never really know. And then PD9 is still on schedule for no later than early September.
Returning to
Yeah,
service.
Yeah, to
And then we
restart.
get the next one, right?
And then that would bring our 3 units back. And the next overhaul will be Cabras 2 in October for about 50 days. I'd just like to take the time to again thank our, our sister company. Of course, we're using the GWA assets during this period of time. All the generators on GWA assets, no, during this period of time. The Airport Authority, the Port Authority, the Guam Regional Medical Center, all worked in, and of course Pacific Unlimited also ran their, just wanted to do it to help the system at this point. The military will go for about 2-3 days and do what they can. So all of this, again, the community at large helped us. We're establishing the interruptible load program, and we have sent out invitations to hotels and other major load centers. We don't have many yet that have come back from that end, except the team that I mentioned here.
Has DUSIT responded?
I have to check. I don't know whether we.
I'll double check.
No, I don't know whether they sent me the thing to sign, and I'm not sure whether I signed it yet. But I will look at it, and we'll be sending out the next phase. Just
How
a second.
many hotels in the past, when we had the program before, how many hotels?
There wasn't that many.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's the major hotels, but lessons
Were
learned
they
for themselves too. Their machines are older.
Yeah.
They hesitate. And that's kind of the issue right now. Oh, what happens if we don't respond 3 or 4 or 5 or 7 times that you call us? Of course, you're out of the program. So things like that. But again, we try to work with them. So we're trying to answer those questions today because again, they're having similar issues.
We're a victim of our own success.
Yeah.
We've had such little load shedding over the last decade that most places don't exercise their gens, they don't put the stress on them, and
Put
then
the
when they
investment
need them,
into
they
them.
find out it doesn't function as well. So I too have run into hotels that are going, I'd like to help, but,
Yeah.
and then I've run into hotels that say, give me a shot at it, because they like the program. They find it's cost effective.
Some-
But right now, we're only we are offering.
I'm only
that
inviting
program
certain load
small,
centers,
'cause they
and
have to
one
be
that
big
have
enough load.
been, the one that has helped us in the past successfully, and so I went, for the first bunch, and I'm going to the second tranche. But again, all of this is only for the next 4 months. Next, after the campus overhaul, we won't need to interrupt, we should have an adequate capacity rolling all the way through to
2024.
April next year, because the load and the demand is down,
Right.
and our generators are not going through a major overhaul, so your chances of ever being down to 3 base load is very minimal, no? As we have done for years, right?
So both
And
our
so-
PDs we're finishing our second PD now, this month?
By latest first week of September.
Yeah, and then both
PD9.
PDs are done, right?
All PD will be converted, burning ultra-low sulfur
ultra-low
diesel.
They're most efficient.
And then the Cabras too is a lot of work that we have to do, and that's a 5.9 million overhaul, and in fact, I'm looking, we may add some more work on the border tubes and different things.
Okay, Commissioner Tiaco.
Yeah, and then JB, for PD8, I know that there were various issues when it was coming up and down. Did they identify exactly what the issue was? I know there were several.
There were some issues with the, again, what happens is they're also recapitalizing the power plant. So we're investing in various parts, including the exciter, no? So in the excitation area, first of all, there was a transformer sensor that went out, no? And then after that, it had issues with staying on the line. You run for 5 hours and then multi, no? And all that, and did that a couple of times, no? So yes, after going through the process, again, power, electrical work, electrical troubleshooting, if you have it's not very simple to figure out. So at the end, it's ended up to be, they replaced various things, but in addition to that, they found some loose connection, no? No, loose connection is, oh no, he didn't tighten it. No, what happens over time is the heat, no? And the vibration from the machine, because that's a slow-speed diesel with a lot of vibration. The combination of that could have made it. So again, the process would have been coming back and retightening everything. So I think that combination, which I'm very happy that they found, has made the machine now up, and it's been running since last Thursday, up at 40 megawatts.
And then just as a follow-up, now what is the current capacity?
40, and the rated capacity of the machine is 44.2 megawatts, I believe, to be exact, no? But that's with a heat recovery for steam machine at the end of it, no? That has been taken away now in favor of putting in the environmental, what you call it, the environmental, what do you call it? Catalyst. Yeah, catalyst, if you will. No? And so now the rating maximum now is 43.2. So you lost a megawatt. But again, in addition, no, because there's less heat rate, there's less heat in the content of diesel versus the heavy oil. The diesel is, the heavy oil is 6.3 million BTU per barrel, and this one is 5.75. So therefore now the kilowatt hours per gallon went from 17.9 down to 16. We have projected 15.5, but it's 16, which is good. So that's why it's a higher cost level now to produce until we get the new power plant on and all of that, right?
Yeah.
So that's so it's operating at it's 43 but I'm having them operate at 40 megawatts.
40 meg.
Yeah.
And then the current reserves before PD9 comes up?
Right now we have 275 megawatt. And again, our demand this time, because of the things, about 230 no more than 240. So we have one machine comes down again. We have that's 275 without the PD9. So we have some leeway. If PD9 came back, you can see that 2 will drop. But again, as noted in my GM report and showed the solar impact, the new 60 megawatt has now brought it that really, before we were vulnerable for the whole day when we do street-based units. Now our vulnerability is only from 6 to 9 because they're running in the daytime. They're
producing something.
yeah. So it's really, that's the additional impact in addition to the savings of the 60 megawatt that went up.
Commissioner Sanchez.
I just want to add, too, there's sort of this myth, too, that, the private sector never has mechanical failures, privatized GPA. PD8 and 9 was built by Osaka Gas, a multinational power company, and was operated by Osaka Gas for 25 years.
And actually I started with Enron and then went to Osaka.
Right, but they
Yeah.
became
Yeah.
the host,
The
right?
prime,
And they were our longtime partner. We
Yeah.
know the operator's very good, and they continue to operate it. But even, and any of us that work in the private sector know that things, even as well-maintained as you try to maintain them, things will fail, right? It's this myth that, if it's private, it will never fail, it will never burp, well, that's a myth, all right? This is a private engine that we've run now for 25 plus years, and sometimes they burp. Sometimes they got to get fixed. So that this idea that privatization, ask Hawaiians how they feel about Hawaiian Electric. They're not happy, right? So, this idea that just because you're guaranteed that you'll never have failure, you'll never have a hiccup, that's a myth. This is a great example. As well run as that plant has been for the 5 years we've had it, GPA has been excellent at public-private partnerships. We now have $1 billion worth of private money in a solar farm and a brand-new generator that isn't being taken from ratepayers. They're taking all the risk to build the solar farm, build that generator, and they don't get any money back unless they sell it. And yet, even though they're private, doesn't mean over the next 20, 25 years, they're not going to have
A hiccup.
an issue, a hiccup, a burp, or whatever, right?
So in the normal
But all the
course of
risks are
business, yeah.
to that, which is good. But, there's again, I think the average citizen, you can't fault them because they don't get into it as much as we do. But this myth that just because it's private, it will never fail is a myth. And we actually at GPA have done an excellent job of combining public and private interactions using private capital. We have, I tell my friends at the chamber, and actually my chamber friends acknowledge it. The one company that has done a great job of public-private partnerships is the Guam Power Group. Osaka Gas, the PD8 and 9 is a perfect example. All these solar farms built by private companies. It's their private capital, and we shifted the risk. When Margot ran into problems with their mitigation of rainfall and construction, who paid for that? We paid it. We took on no risk. We paid simply for electricity, and because they don't make any money until they sell electricity, they fixed it, they dealt with it, they dealt with the public, they paid the fines, and now that plant is making energy equivalent to 14,000 houses annual consumption at, what did you say here, $52 a barrel. That solar farm is producing energy at the equivalent of $52 a barrel. If we have to burn oil, it's 100 plus, right? And that's the benefit of using solar energy, and its escalation clause is so minimal, unlike oil that can go up 50% in a month, 2 months, 3 months. So, as the chairman pointed out, it's a mix of solutions that we've been thinking about for 15 years that we've been implementing. When we did the renewable portfolio with Speaker Ben, we were praying for it to be at 25% renewable 11 years from now, 12 years from now, and we're going to be there almost a decade sooner. We're going to double that goal by 2030. That is your current goal, and that's because of the management, the approach, the planning, a little bit of luck mixed in with some not so lucky times, but the solution set is there, and we're using private capital to get us there. That doesn't mean it's not going to fail. go ask 1,000 business owners, does every machine work every minute of the day? No, right? And you got to keep working at it. But we've done a great job, and we just can't wait for that new gen to come on, and to Melinda and her team to keep Cabras going. A salute to them, a lot of gratitude to them, because they're keeping the lights on with something that needed to be retired a while ago, and yet is still serving us. And people also forget, we lost Cabras 3 and 4, 6, 7 years ago. We've been working with one leg. We used to have 4 units. Now we only got 2 of the 4 units, right? And yet we've managed, until the last 3 weeks, the amount of load shedding was so minimal. So we apologize for the load shedding, and no one enjoys it. It's a pain in the butt, and it's the biggest pain in the butt, frankly, is the folks that have to try to fix it. They feel as bad as anybody, and they work as hard as they possibly can to get us back online. And so I want to thank the hard workers down in Cabras, and Melinda and your team for keeping it going. And let's just continue to implement the plan. Public-private partnerships. There's going to be burps and glitches that occur, as they occur in everyone's situation. But we work hard to overcome them, and we've got a plan that will eventually take us out and put us in a much better position. And so,
I just want to add to that, because you mentioned Hawaiian Electric. And I just got a notice in Hawaiian Electric that they've installed 100,000 smart meters in their system. 100,000. Just now.
Yeah.
We installed all our smart meters thanks to the
Almost a
work from your SPORD group, your planning group.
Money 10 years ago, something like that.
Yeah, 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And they're just now installing, in the whole 4 islands that 3 islands that Big Island, Maui, and Oahu, they put in 100,000 smart meters. And they're on the way, putting in the 400,000 smart meters they need to put in for their system. Something we did through the efforts of your SPORD group, your planning group, who came up with this and did that. So we got good operational people, we got good planning people. That's the secret to your success.
And a cleaner environment comes at a cost. Look at what Hawaii's worried about. They're closing a coal plant, which is horrible for the environment, but it's 6 cents a kilowatt hour, and it's reliable. Because the other part of the Hawaii article is not just the sheer cost going up. They're worried that renewables are still not as reliable as an engine, right? And people want reliable power, right? So they're also worried about meeting load from a reliability point of view, much less a cost point of view. And I think you have somewhere in here, John, the residential rate for Hawaiian Electric is how much? Ours is 34, and theirs is like 39, 40 cents.
It's over 40 cents.
Yeah,
it's over 40 cents.
Yeah.
That's about 40, ranging from 44 cents to 60 cents.
So the state of Hawaii is selling energy at 44 to 60 cents a kilowatt hour, and the territory of Guam is selling it at 35 cents?
35 cents.
Yeah, so, and so, if nothing else, it reinforces that we're doing the right thing. The chairman is right. Not everyone's going to get it, no matter how often we explain it, and we'll try to do a better job of explaining it. But most importantly is we just stay the course. We shouldn't get discouraged that we're not doing the right thing, even if there's,
We have
bumps
naysayers.
along the way,
Big Island is 52 cents.
Big Island's 52 cents. Change isn't cheap. We're going to have wonderfully low emissions, but we're buying a fuel that is 50% higher than the fuel we sacrifice, right? But we're putting on a generator that's going to then reduce the amount of fuel we consume to bring that price down. We refinance debt to bring that price down, and in a few short years, and we would have been much further along if it hadn't been for the protests, delays in supply, COVID, and all that stuff. The plan we had would have been implemented
Sooner.
much sooner. We just got to be.
We're still working on it,
Yeah.
and we're going to
now
implement it.
we're implementing it.
We're implementing it.
And we don't know what the good Lord will bring up in the next few years, but if we're able to continue the effort, then our goal is the new generator will be online in a few short years, and you're bringing us more plans to add more renewables to the grid that
That'll
can
work
work
with
with a
that
new
generator.
generator, and that's going to bring down the power bills while keeping the supply of energy reliable.
Yes.
It's not just the cost, it's the reliability. Reliability has a cost. Clean air has a cost. That's in that 35 cents a kilowatt hour, right? But people want reliable power.
Yes.
In the realm of reason that you convert, do what we're doing today, because you're converting from very cheap fuel to very expensive fuel. You're reducing your efficiency, as I just showed you earlier. You're cleaning the whole environment, not only from the air side, but from the water side with the
But there's a cost.
sister company, combination of using the wastewater that GWA facilities do. You know, it's just, people are just starting to realize that, wow, that's very,
That's a good idea.
very good idea.
A lot of new innovation.
And hearing this from other people, how innovative that we become to make that happen, right? And all that stuff, and then still reduce the rate, like the rate there,
Keep
and
that
sustain
rate.
it there. And I mean, reduce it from what rate we are used to, which is lower than other communities. But can you imagine
If we didn't do it?
average and where we're going? That's a huge differential. No?
Right.
So again, we're talking with ratepayers for their patience, but we're very close to the finish line.
Yep.
We're delivering what we've always wanted to deliver, and actually, it's on its way to be delivered.
Yes. And there's $1 billion working on it right now. Well, and 600 is already in the ground producing savings, and the other generator is on its way.
Okay.
So that's it, that's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, thank you. Any comments from the commissioners? No?
You know, I
Okay,
just
sure.
apologize, because I missed the work session. I know you talked a little bit about hedging
Yes.
and maybe just, because it's the official meeting, if you could just chat a little more. I was a little disappointed that in that presentation on hedging, GP wasn't invited to hear anything, right? It was like, I'm not sure why. Why wouldn't you want to share the information? Plus, we could have, we could also provide feedback, because from the parts I did pick up, it's quite clear that some of the observations were not, they didn't know everything we do, right? They just presume we act more like a private company. We're not. We're publicly owned, and that influences procurement, that influences fuel contracts, right? And I did get the part that our biggest hedge is the new gen and solar, because the best way to reduce the power costs on Guam is to reduce the amount of oil we burn, especially now that we're having to burn a fuel that is much more expensive, even though it's cleaner. Wonderful for the environment, bad for the checkbook, right? But that's what our country wants, that's what some people want, and that's what we're doing. But in terms of, this morning on CNBC, they were just talking about how bad hedging is going to be. The OPEC is thinking of going back and tightening up their supply, and they were just talking about, then they just referred to the airlines. Airlines attempting to hedge in the next 6 to 8 months are going to see huge price cost increases for that hedge as a result of a pullback on supply. But I know, John Kim, you look at it, and first off, what I noticed in John's report, we do have a professional advisory group that advises you, because if you can just chat a little bit about the advisory group and their position on hedging and why we've done so little hedging in the recent months.
Yes, we do hedging, but there's two types of hedging. When we brought in a consultant right before the COVID, so they look at our hedging program and see our capability.
Who's our consultant?
Right now we're using Utilities Financial Services, and the one who's the specific person looking at us, Dr. Axelrod. He's been with the Massachusetts Municipality Electric Powers. So the things we looked at is we look at what kind of asset we have. So we looked at the energy, ESS, battery service, utility battery scale, renewables. And we also looked at new power plants and what kind of fuels we'll be running it. Right now, we stopped buying RFOs. In the future, we'll be buying 0.2 low sulfur RFOs and diesels. But all those indexes are priced on diesel going forward. So we also looked at compliance with the consent decree and U.S. Clean Air Act. And at the end, with all this RFP process, our objective was to reduce or minimize the lowest cost possible, or have it the lowest cost possible for us.
Has our consultant looked at that presentation? I mean, we can always learn from,
Yes.
I didn't get a chance to finish it. It was pretty long,
Yeah.
but
If I may,
yeah, I'm just curious what
we,
your
it
reaction
seems
is.
that we really, that things just wasted a lot of our time, in my opinion, and I'll be straightforward with this. First of all, they have no idea. They didn't ask us any information about the utility before they go out there and make that recommendation and give the people Guam the thought that perhaps something could be done. No, John made itemized so many items of things that we've been doing, which is similar to hedging. Not the hedging that they're talking about.
Financial.
And the hedging that they're talking about is high risk. We go out there, we hedge one time, we lost $10 million. What the heck? Excuse my language.
Yeah,
What do you
we've
think
been
is going to
burned
happen?
We've been burned before.
And we've been burned before. We're also in the process of changing from 3 field to 5 field down to 1 field. The conversion to get to ultra low sulfur diesel. So we have all of this different fuel. Which one you're going to hedge on, no? And stuff. So again, eventually the team here will look at, again, we look at the opportunity of the financial hedge for diesel fuel, which we're going to be, no, starting really. That now is where we need to concentrate. But really, it's unfair to bring it up there. It's a big disappointment to me, no? That they bring it up there. Not once did anyone ask us any information on what we're doing, which we could have provided a several-page picture as to what we're doing, and then the consultant take a look at that and say, okay, what opportunities does this company really have? So you know, I mean, that's, to me, that strategy, and I'll be very honest with everyone, is something that was being done 20 years ago, where they brought in consultants and they're the best in the world to understand. So I'm not going, they may have their expertise, but please don't come in making a conclusion of one power authority without understanding the information, and then we can then have a discussion to agree or disagree, no? And then from there, okay, take it to town. But don't get our ratepayers so riled up that, oh my God, we're not doing it the best we can. Because we have many people in the authority that are doing the best that they can.
Yeah.
So that's when I get irritated.
It's not like we don't look at hedging.
Yeah.
We do look at it.
We do, and we've done
when
so
oil
much.
went up as much as it did, I mean, the other thing I thought about too is we have delayed the LEAC, passing through the LEAC. From a ratepayer point of view, that's hedging. That's hedging for them.
The
you
other
know?
thing that's significant that we
We
brought
bought
up,
down their
Nay,
cost of energy during COVID, and now we don't have the capital to invest in hedging because we paid for the fuel so that our ratepayers didn't have to. And now we're beginning to recover it. And at the same time, we're buying a fuel that is 50% more expensive, but it's cleaner because we have to meet the environmental requirement. That group that advised them had no consideration for the fact that we're having to switch fuels to a more expensive fuel.
and furthermore, most people that hedge, a majority of them don't have tankage.
Right.
We hedge because we have 30 to 90 days of tankage. We buy on the low, and even if the cost goes up, we don't buy fuel for a month and a half. We can delay it depending on our inventory. They don't, so they can have this thing going up every day or whatever in their
They don't have to
cost.
ship
So
it
they have
30
to
days.
hedge to try and maintain. And hedging is not really, I read, it's not about us savings. It's more to make sure that you're within your budgeted costs, so that you don't have to increase the rates for everybody. So, that I can read too and see what those impacts are, and that's what I think, Mr. Chair. So.
Yeah, but I mean, there's always, there's an upside and a downside, so, you hedge wrong, you lose.
So what we did was we had a consultant look at it. They said there's 2 types of hedging. There's a fiscal hedging and a financial hedging. What he said was for operations too small, you need like cover 3 different departments. So he said for financial hedging, you should outsource that. But he said what we could implement was called fiscal hedging. So that's something that we've been doing.
Physical hedging.
Yeah, so we implemented fiscal hedging, but some of the practice, we've been doing it for years. It's not something new, but it was more of a documented process.
It was like they were afraid to even talk to us, which I just couldn't understand. If you want to help solve a problem, bring the stakeholders in, right? But to just have a presentation in which somebody that didn't even talk to the largest stakeholder about how we're doing it now, and just, I mean, to me, it was hedging 101. I stopped watching after a while. I said, oh, okay, you're a professor teaching us folks that have been hedging for a long time. And then, of course, I have family that was in the airline business, and you want to see hedging disasters? Ask the airlines about hedging disasters, and CNBC today they in fact mentioned the airlines. They said if OPEC's going to tighten up supply, the cost of hedging in the future is going to be horrible for airlines. They could have put power companies that are actively hedging. So hedging is, like everything else, there's no one magic bullet that solves all the world's problems. It's a mix of inputs and decisions, and sometimes you have no control, even despite your best efforts, and you still got to manage that every day, 24/7, to provide the solution. It was a pretty, I was just disappointed that as you were, John, we weren't even asked to listen, participate. They didn't talk to us about, before I comment on, suggest to you ways you might improve, let me find out how you're doing it now. They never got to that part. They just said, I don't know where they found these people, but it was misleading at best, because they didn't talk to the stakeholder.
Yes. So on the physical hedge, something we do have is called inventory management. I believe they discussed that in their presentation also. That we store, we do have two big 250 kb tanks. So we could actually leverage, and we also outsource that tankers. So what we do is, when the price is low, we just acquire more. And this has been common practice. When the price is high, we just slow it down. Like this time around, like for Cabras 8 and 9, we knew we were gonna burn diesel in July. So we actually bought that early on when the price was lower. But at the RFO, the low sulfur RFO, we knew that's gonna be, price is high when we wanna buy it. So we kind of delayed that. So it's coming in at much, when right now the price of diesel has gone down, which is indexed down. So we're gonna buy at a lower.
You're gonna buy
lower at a lower price.
Buy the diesel
So that's a form of hedging.
There's other ways to hedge.
Yes, yes. There's multiple ways of hedging it. That's one of the other hedging. The other one we use is the vendors, like Hyundai provides us RFOs, and they give us 11-day average. Believe it or not, in Asian hedging, it's actually 30-day average, so it's 1/3 of.
So they really spread out that cost curve.
Yeah. Yes. The other things we do, and this is a long time ago, we always said renewables can be hedging. So our renewable right now is about 10% of the portfolio. And they say if you use the color, usually maximum you should do is 15. So we're getting there. We're actually when the other two contracts were implemented, we must significantly higher. It's just that right now what's executed so far is about 10% of the portfolio has been hedged with renewable.
In John's management report, he shows the solar farm is producing energy at the cost of $52 a barrel.
Yes.
Now that's a hedge.
Yeah, so that means
That's
we
a hell of a
hedge.
versus 100.
Yes.
It's 50% of the cost. So
Yes. That means we hedge that $52 a barrel.
exactly, with a solar farm.
Yes.
We're doing a lot, and again, we continue. There's an opportunity in the future, and
Yeah.
it's quite
Yeah.
Yeah, we're looking at it, and we've got a
Yeah.
group advising us, and we've got some experience in it.
Yes. The other thing was fuel diversity. We looked at LNG, so that, the maintenance cost of our equipment with LNG is much like $10 million cheaper per annum. Also, it's more steady. So that's one thing so that'll be in the next couple of years. So other thing we looked at was demand side management, which we having it for quite some time. What the reason why this demand management is hedging is if you got efficient appliances, the demand of our network peak loads actually goes down, and also
less fuel consumption, less cost,
Less
less
LEAC.
cost, less
You squeeze the.
Less strain on the equipment.
straight up. So we're doing everything.
Yeah, those-
Here's another project. The University of Guam.
Yes,
Every area to use.
So we have a mix of hedging tools
Yes.
that we're using. Some are more macro than others, but they're all.
Yes. Yes. So some we have long term like renewables. That's like 20+ years hedging.
Yep.
Yeah, and And let's just say most financial hedging is 12 months. You don't want to go beyond that. Ours is 20 years. So the impact, imagination is amazing how much you're hedging.
It sounded like a tailor, I was reminded of a tailor trying to fit someone with clothing, but they never talked to the person wearing the clothes. They just said, well, you need to stitch it right, and you need to think about this and that.
Yeah.
Okay, hedging 101.
Yeah. So other thing about DSM is the amount of consumption per customer is like if you put, the appliances are more efficient, it's lower consumption. So we are actually controlling the cost of the customer by lower consumption. So that's the hedging we do.
Okay, thank you.
So,
Thank you.
John, thank you.
Okay.
You know, I guess that's my frustration. People don't realize how well we're working on all the things we do. We really do. Both companies, but GPA is the shining star in my opinion. We just don't get the word out very well, and it takes a lot to really understand all the nuances. I mean, you and I have been involved with this movie for 30-some years, and we get it. But there are a lot of people out there that don't get it, and I guess you said it best once, Commissioner Sanchez. They think of us twice: when they get the power bill, and then when the light goes out. That's when they think of us. That's it. But for the rest of the time, 99% of the time, everything's working. They don't think about us.
Thank God.
Huh?
Yeah, and they take us for granted.
They take us for granted,
Because they're
yeah.
getting what they want.
Yeah, and we don't have a problem with it. We're working on that. But it's just those 2% of the time when all of a sudden something goes wrong, and right away something's wrong.
There's that famous headline Ken Flores saved in his office for all those years. He was set in the load shedding when the load shedding blues were the worst, right? And the headline was, "I'd pay anything for reliable power." And people forget it's not just the cost of the pump, right? It's we want 100% energy all the time, anytime we flick the switch.
Yeah.
Reliability has a cost. It doesn't just it's not just a word in the dictionary. You have to invest in things that produce reliability, like a new generator, right? Like batteries for solar. Wonderful. Batteries ain't cheap, but all those, it's a mix of ammunition that we must assemble to shoot at the cost of power while still providing reliable energy. And we've got a good mix going. We just got to
And we've got good
keep pushing
people.
it.
We've got good people working for us.
do.
We really do.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay, any further questions?
You can throw it.
GPA, thank you very much.
No, thank you, Mr.
thank
Chair,
you.
Commissioners.
Do you want to take a
Yeah, thank
5-minute break or go right into it? Miguel, are you ready? Yeah, okay, then get up here and let's get going. Did we sign everything? Did we sign everything?
We're just
Oh,
waiting on the
the
corrected
corrected
copy,
copy?
corrected
Okay.
GPA copy, resolution copy.
Are we waiting for 5 minutes?
No.
Okay, then I need to unhook so I can fix this and then bring it back.
Okay, so break, we'll take a
Like,
break.
5,
Yeah.
10 minutes? 10-minute recess. We have to do something.
Oh.
Okay, just 10-minute recess. Stretch your legs, bathroom break.
And you were engaged.
Back in session, and GWA, you're up. Miguel, the floor is yours. Go to your resolutions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to ask the CFO to present the first two resolutions.
Okay.
Good evening. The first resolution is resolution number 27 FY 2022, relative to approving the charge-off of GWA receivables deemed uncollectible. As we previously discussed, it's good accounting principles to review our accounts receivable on a regular basis and to write off accounts that are deemed uncollectible. The last write-off that was brought before the CCU was in March 2021, and we are proposing this resolution as we prepare for our year end. The proposed amounts to be charged off are $935,767 or 2,296 accounts. Of that amount, $908,951 are related to trade receivables for closed accounts. The accounts receivable others are for commercial accounts for billing such as sewage discharge, work orders, and claims. And since the last time we met, we did work out payment agreements with Gpwa, so we were able to take them off this list. And so we're working with them so that they're going to pay down those accounts. So the last government receivable is the airport for $13,944. The majority of that is related, as I mentioned previously, to pull out equipment rental related to a well pullout. So we continue to work with the airport authority, but these are old accounts.
Okay.
I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
That was some of the concerns we brought up at the working session. Do we have any further questions, commissioners?
No, our annual billing's 100 million, 110 million, something like that, so.
Our revenue.
And,
Our revenue, yeah.
so in the this is dated from 2019?
This is from FY 2015 through 2018.
So for that 3-year period, we're talking about $1 million out of gross billing, 300 million plus. So you're looking at like 1/3 of 1%. That, despite all our effort, is.
And we'll continue. I mean, just because we're writing them off doesn't mean that we won't exhaust our efforts to continue to try to collect them. We'll work with the collection agency. We have continuing conversations with the airport, and so we'll.
And then some are inactive, you're just not going to get it. I mean, what's the
And some are
point- What's the
inactive,
point of
but-
keeping it on the books if it's not going to happen?
Right. But if they ever come back to
reapply,
open,
Then you
yeah,
grab
that's when we'll be talking to
then
them.
that's when you remind them.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, and some do that. Some people
It's the
sometimes
cost of
move
doing-
off
It's
island.
the cost of giving credit.
Yeah.
In business, right? And-
Yeah.
And we, we're 100 million plus a year business. We're one of the largest businesses on Guam.
Yeah.
This is not
GPA,
unusual.
GWA, they're the biggest.
And there's not a lot of $100 million private businesses on Guam. And this is, I've seen those kinds of businesses. This is a fairly standard number. Right?
It's not a big number,
It's a small percentage.
small percentage. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution?
Yeah, which one is it? Resolution 2722?
Mhm.
Yeah, okay. I move to adopt GWA Resolution 27 FY 2022 relative to approving the charge-off Guam Water Works Authority receivables that are deemed uncollectible. The amount is $935,767.
Is there a
As
second?
summarized in Exhibit A.
Second, Commissioner Martinez. Any further discussion? No? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries with 4 aye votes.
Thank you, Commissioners. Resolution number 28 FY 2022 is relative to approving FY 22 budget amendments and rate stabilization fund transfers. As you recall, the CCU authorized a rollover of the FY 21 cost containment budget for FY 22 due to delays from action on the PUC on the comprehensive review and update of GWA's 5-year financial plan, which was submitted in May 2021. In passing the rollover budget, the anticipation was that the PUC would act before the end of FY 21 on the update, on the review and update. They haven't, but we do have a schedule rate hearing on September 22nd this year. In any case, GWA management seeks approval from the CCU for an additional $6 million, bringing our budget authorization for the O&M budget to $95,609,096. A majority of the $6 million increase, or $5 million, is directly related to the increase in power costs, and the balance is a general increase in the cost of goods and services due to supply chain issues, the increase in costs of transportation, and general inflation. Additionally, again, partially due to the lack of action from the PUC, our projected revenues have also not met projection. We're anticipating that will be down about $12 million. To mitigate this, we're asking for additional authorization from the CCU for transfers out of the rate stabilization fund up to the balance of $11.4 million. The CCU previously authorized $5.3 million in transfers, of which we've used $4.25 million of that already. So the rate stabilization transfers will allow GWA to keep its debt service coverage above the 1.25 required in the bond covenant. Exhibit A to the resolution is a summary of the proposed budget. And I'm happy to answer any questions. I don't know if the GM wanted to.
Just wanted to add for the commissioners that the initial authorization to transfer out of the rate stabilization fund, the 5.some million, was what we projected we would need to take us to the end of fiscal year 2022. But because of the additional costs that we're seeing, we're seeking this additional authorization, which we anticipated would cover what we might draw down from the reserve in fiscal year 23, but we're worried about the end of year debt service coverage ratio, which is, we're only going to draw down, out of what we're asking, we're only going to draw down as much as we need to in order to make sure our debt service coverage is.
We don't go into technical default.
It's not our intent to blow the additional $6 million that we've requested, before the end of this fiscal year.
Okay.
Just to be clear.
Commissioner.
Just a hedge.
Commissioner Sanchez.
Sorry, when you take, in order to meet debt service coverage, we need to show it at the end of the fiscal year? Is that why the timing of the drawdown is now? Make sure it's
just to ensure that we have sufficient authority to transfer enough so that our debt service coverage remains above the 1.25.
And when we draw down, we book it as revenue?
So right now
I'm trying to figure out how you calculate,
right.
how do we?
Because it came out of reserve, it's really a cash to cash, but what we're doing is it's the debt service calculation that is adjusted. So it doesn't it does not increase revenues on the financial statements. It's below the line.
How do you grow how do you get the ratio up?
So when we do the debt service coverage, the revenue amount, we add the rate stabilization transfers.
Oh, so you show revenue and then you show rate
Right.
stabilization and transfer, but you get to add the two together
Right.
for coverage purposes.
Yes.
And if we approve this tonight, you would do it as you draw
Right.
transfer from?
That's correct.
Then you would add it. Because you're reporting, how often do we were, I know you calculate the coverage every month on the financials.
So
What's
in-
our fiduciary requirement to report it, besides doing the financials? Or they just look at the financials? And they're saying, okay, this month you made it, this month you made it.
Right.
Is there a point in time that says,
We're required to file it annually, and we post it on the DAC website.
and when's the filing date?
Generally, we post it when the audit is complete.
Okay, so it's linked to the completion of your
It's
fiscal
generally,
year,
it's
the
due
audit.
by June, but if we get the audit done earlier, we end up posting it earlier.
But between this year's audit and next year's audit, you're managing the ratio in effect, and you need some real revenue, because. things like
And
power
occasionally
went
we'll
up.
get questions from the rating agencies. We do post our financial statements on our website, and generally that's where they go if they want to look at interim
And they see
financials.
resolutions like this to see that we've taken action as well. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Motion?
Motion to approve GWA Resolution Number 28-FY 2022 relative to approving the FY 22 budget amendments and rate stabilization transfers.
Is there a second?
Okay.
Second, Commissioner Martinez. Any further discussion?
Nope.
Nope. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion carries.
The last issue for decision, Mr. Chair, is 29 FY 2022, and this is seeking approval for bond proceeds reallocation from our Series 2028 bonds. The objective of the project is to reallocate some of the bonds, bond funding that were allocated to CIP line items, which can be deferred in order to provide additional funding so that we can complete the court order tank projects. And the reason is that the construction costs that we are seeing now are significantly higher than when we originally estimated what we would need to complete the court order projects. For just as an example, I think we were seeing on a per unit cost basis on the order of $2 to $4 per gallon of storage. And the current cost, based on the latest estimates that we've received for 3 new construction, new concrete tanks that are, the designs have wrapped up, we're looking at now between $5 and $8 per gallon of storage. So the costs have increased by 2 to 3 times. In addition, there's significant piping work that also needs to be conducted, and that's also driving up the cost. So because of that, we don't want to be faced with a situation where we don't have enough funding to complete the tanks, to get these long lead construction contracts bid and certified funds available so we can start that. So we're seeking this reallocation now so that we can get an additional $30 million to add to the CIP line items for these tank projects so we can complete them in order to meet the court order requirements. These are all Series 2028 bonds, and we have as an attachment, which has been handed out, you can see the majority of the projects that we are reallocating from are on the mostly on the sewer side, and some of the electrical and SCADA projects, which we believe we can defer until we go out for additional financing. But we are able to reallocate about $30 million, which would give us a total of $56 million for the tank and reservoir improvements, and this includes the 3 large new construction projects we anticipate will be bid shortly, as well as some of the repair projects that are still ongoing, and the costs are only estimated at this time.
Okay. Miguel, I have a question. When is the completion deadline? Is it, I can't remember, for the court order projects?
We have received a extension from the court based on, I think we got it pre-COVID, that pushed it out to June of 2023.
June of 2023?
Yeah.
Okay. Next year. Okay. Okay. So we should be able to finish all those projects?
So that's part of the process that we're working through right now. As I mentioned, the last 3 designs that have wrapped up, and that's how we got some more firm numbers, and we also have some additional schedules. So for the new construction, we should be able to complete most of them. As you know, we still have one of the tanks that has land issues related to the federal government, which we're trying to work out.
Yeah.
So it's likely that some of those will be pushed out beyond the court order deadline. Again, and the other thing is the extension that we did get did not take into consideration COVID or the global supply chain issues that we've been facing. So we may not, we're working as best we can to try and get all of them done by that deadline, but I'm not at this point certain that we will be able to get all of them done by that deadline.
Okay. Are we informing EPA on this?
We've been trying to keep them as informed as we can, but as I mentioned, we just wrapped up some of the design work, so the anticipated estimated cost and construction schedule data. We're updating that as we go.
Okay. Okay. Do we have a motion on this?
Not yet.
Okay, is there a motion to approve this resolution?
A motion to approve GWA Resolution Number 29-5, FY 2022,
Okay.
relative to the approval of Series 2020A bond proceeds reallocation.
Is there a second? Second, Commissioner Martinez. Any further questions from the commissioners? No? Okay, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Aye, opposed, nay. Motion carries with 4 aye votes. Okay. Miguel, do you have anything else you need to bring before us?
I don't know if you wanted to go through just 1 or 2 notable items on the GM report. I don't know if Ann, you could take me to 73 on the board books.
Page what?
73. It's this one. So I just wanted to point out, just make sure nobody's alarmed. The last couple months, you've noticed the tank reservoir levels may have been coming down in terms of our total capacity. Typically, we like to stay between 40 and 50% of the tank capacity, which takes into account the fluctuations during the day. You'll notice that these have been trending more towards 30-35%. And I just wanted to point out that we do have, as part of the ongoing tank projects, we've been, the distribution crews and the engineering section have been working hard to take some of these tanks offline so we can do the assessments for the major repairs. These are for tanks that we're not replacing, but we're repairing.
Yeah.
In order to know what the repairs are, we have to take them offline, empty them, and so on and so
okay.
forth. So these numbers reflect that we do have in the south 4 tanks offline at the moment, which accounts for about 3.5 million gallons of total of 8.8 million gallon capacity in the south. So that's just with those 4 tanks, we're already down 40%.
Okay.
So the numbers may look low, but there's a reason why that they are low, and I just wanted to point out to the commissioners so that they understood it's not necessarily that we're not paying attention to the distribution system. Quite the contrary, we're working on rehabilitating those tanks, and we do have tanks offline. Similarly, in the north, we have 5 tanks offline, accounting for about 9 million gallons of storage out of 28.4 million gallons, so that's about 32% of our capacity offline just because we're doing these assessments and repairs.
Now, the tanks are basically the last items on the court order, right?
That's correct, sir.
That's it. So when we do these, we're done. With the court order?
With the court order, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
Until we get the new one.
So we get to the
new
consent
court order.
decree.
Consent decree, court order. Potato, potato. It works the same. I just did the same.
Okay, thank you for that. Anything else, commissioners?
That's it, right?
No, that's it?
That's it.
Okay, thanks.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion to, oh, no,
Oh, yeah, wait,
we have
yeah.
We have to
CCU
promote
vacancy.
That's correct.
Yeah, so we have a vacancy for vice chairman right now, and we need to fill that vacancy with a motion from the commission.
I'll make a motion and then we can discuss it, right?
Sure.
I propose that Michael Untitled become the vice chairman, Peter Martinez become the new secretary, to replace the departed Commissioner
Vice chairman.
Santos, who vacated the vice chairmanship. And by moving Secretary Untitled there, we create a vacancy in the secretariat. So I was thinking Commissioner Martinez, it kind of exposes all of us to a officer. And now the 4 of us will all be serving in some sort of or have served in some officer position. So that's why I propose that as a starting point.
I'm going to second that motion. I'm allowed to second a motion, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm going to second the motion because we're
I thought you were good, but that's good.
No,
Works for
no.
me.
Yeah. And now, first off, are you folks willing to accept the position?
Yeah, I accept the nomination.
Okay.
I accept the nomination.
Okay, good. No
It
further
doesn't increase
discussion.
your pay. It's more work.
Yeah, it needs a lot more work, but, so thank you very much. And call for the question unless somebody has anything else to say? No? Okay, call for the question. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye, opposed nay. Motion carries with 4 aye votes. Thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you.
And now we can adjourn. Motion to
Motion to adjourn.
Second? Meeting's
Well
adjourned.
done, Mr. Vice Chairman.
Yes.
Way to promptly make a good executive decision.
Yeah, 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 good.